All right, welcome to this conversation. This is Faye D'Souza, and here is what has happened today. We have a record number of members of parliament of the opposition who have been suspended, who are no longer allowed inside of parliament. A total of 92 members of parliament have been suspended for effectively disrupting parliament. Now, 78 of those 92 were suspended today, which is the highest ever, mass suspension so far. 33 from the Lok Sabha, 45 from the Rajya Sabha. This follows an earlier suspension of 14 MPs on Thursday over the same issue. Now, what is the issue? They were raising slogans and protesting and holding up placards inside of Parliament over the security breach. You'll remember the security breach is effectively when a couple of young people found their way inside of Parliament and they stormed Parliament. They jumped onto the floor of the House and they released colored gas from these canisters that turned out to be non-lethal, but it did represent a breach of security that allowed people to come into Parliament and attack. Remember, Parliament has been attacked in India once in the past. Now, what has happened now is that opposition MPs are demanding that there be, an investigation, but they're also demanding a statement from the Home Minister and the Prime Minister on this matter. Now, they've not been granted that, and they continued to protest and to disrupt the House. After multiple adjournments of the House, they were suspended. The reason behind the suspension for the rest of the winter session has been cited as misconduct or failure to adhere to the directions of the chair. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi has moved a motion for the suspension, asserting that the members were violating established rules. Now, this is where we are right now. We're going to talk to someone who is in Parliament. Saket Gokhale is a member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, with the Trinamool Congress, and he's a member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Commerce. Saket, thank you for joining us. Good evening to you. Would you first tell us what happened in Parliament?
Good question. I'm just going to give a brief background. So on 13th of December, as everybody knows, it was the anniversary of the Parliament attack. And on that day, we started with paying tributes to 9 security personnel who had given their lives up in 2001 when Parliament was attacked. And then afternoon, around when both houses were adjourned for lunch, we heard in the Rajya Sabha, we heard that some intruders had jumped from the visitors gallery in the Lok Sabha and had released something that emitted a smoky substance. The news was still trickling in. We had no idea what was happening, but we all respectively went back to our houses because that's our job. So at 2 p.m. when we got into the house, we raised, the leader of opposition got up and we raised a request that we would like the Home Minister to come and tell us what actually happened, because we're getting conflicting reports from here and there, the social media and some media reports, this and that. The Minister of State for Home was actually sitting in the House at that point, the junior Minister for Home Affairs. So we said, why don't you just get up and tell us exactly what happened? The MOS Home had no idea. He was clueless about what had happened. So we requested, the House was adjourned. The next day, there is a provision in the parliamentary rules and procedures. It's called a Rule 267 notice. A Rule 267 notice basically is a notice for suspension of business to discuss a very important, pertinent issue. About 29 of us or 30 of us submitted a Rule 267 notice for the next morning, requesting that the day's business be suspended and the Home Minister be invited to come and have a discussion in Parliament on what actually happened the day before. The Rule 267 notices were rejected without any consideration being given to them. Again, we kept pleading, we said, have the Home Minister come in. We tried every procedural provision that exists in the rule book to request the Home Minister to come and address us. That did not happen. So on that day, we got up in protest in the House. The moment we got up in protest in the House, my colleague, there was also the floor leader of a party, Mr. Derek O'Brien, he was suspended in the Rajya Sabha. And simultaneously, about 13 MPs were suspended in the Lok Sabha. This was last weekend, end of the week. Today, when we assembled, again, today morning, we had given Rule 267 notices. Also, let me just give a little bit of another thing that happened over the weekend here, is that the Home Minister went on some TV news channel And there he gave this entire spiel about the parliament attack, opposition politicizing it, etc., etc. So on Friday, the Home Minister couldn't come to Parliament to address us. He wasn't willing to do that, but he was happy to go and give a long-winded talk about the Parliament security breach on a TV news channel. Similarly, Prime Minister Modi gave an interview to a Hindi newspaper, I think, and he spoke about apparently there is some deeper conspiracy, etc. So clearly, his interview indicates that he is very well aware of the intricacies of the investigation. Today we said, Baba, you've gone out, you're talking to TV channels, the Prime Minister's talking. You apparently know that there is some big anti-India plot and some, maybe foreign angle or aliens or Martians or whatever involved. Why don't you come to Parliament and tell us actually what is going on? Nothing. We said the Home Minister is a member of Parliament as well. Parliament was attacked. It's not even okay. During Manipur, they can say, "Aap to Manipur se hai nahi, aapko kyun batana hai," and all of that. But here, Parliament was attacked. I mean, we were sitting there. It happened to a house of the Parliament. So naturally, you would probably, in a rational world, expect that the Home Minister, who is also a member of Parliament, will come and address Parliament about what just happened in our own house, in our own building. So today, we requested the same thing. Sorry, you have
so Saket, let me just ask you this. I understand what you're saying, that basically members of Parliament have been repeatedly, since the attack took place, repeatedly asking for accountability from the government, from the Home Minister and the Prime Minister. But the police have released statements of the arrests that have been made, what they have discovered in those interrogations, that there is an investigation going on. All of this information is now, in public domain. Is that not enough?
No, it's not. I'll tell you why, Mr. D'Souza. Because I'll tell you why. Because the reason we need to have a discussion on this, okay, it's first of all, it happened in Parliament. All right. The fact that we don't have a say in any of what is going on. I mean, the government very conveniently passed on the buck to the Speaker and said Speaker is responsible for parliamentary security, is what the government said on the record 24 hours ago. And they passed on the buck to the Speaker. They said not the Home Ministry, the Speaker is responsible. So if this pertains to Parliament, which is, we're not the executive, we are not the judiciary, we are a third branch of our democracy, the legislature. Now, the probe was initiated, the Home Minister ordered some inquiry. Now, in Parliament, the inside of the Parliament is guarded by a dedicated security service called PSP. Whereas the 3 layers of security that you have to cross before getting into the Parliament building is guarded by the CRPF. The Home Minister, in his wisdom, has given the case to the Delhi Police Special Cell, and the inquiry, apparently the special team that is investigating it, is headed by the DG CRPF. The Home Minister did not consult us on what would constitute an unbiased, non-partisan probe in this case. The CRPF has committed a lapse in 3 layers of security, but DG CRPF. So these are little things that need to be discussed. Now, Home Minister, if he goes on the TV, that the Prime Minister speaks to a newspaper, there is no way we can ask them these questions as to, Mr. Minister, why has this probe been given to the CRPF? Why is this agency investigating it? What happened on that day? What is the actual sequence of events? We have no answers about that. All we are hearing from the media, then the Prime Minister suddenly yesterday comes up with, there is a deeper conspiracy behind this. Mr. Prime Minister, what is that conspiracy? We would like to know, because this happened in Parliament. It could have been a poisonous gas. Members of Parliament could have died. We don't know whether this is going to happen again or not. What steps have been taken to bolster security?
But Saket Gokhale is standing on the podium and creating a ruckus and not listening to the instructions of the Speaker or the Chair at that point. Is that the right way to get those answers?
We didn't stand on the podium. No, we went into the well today. Today is when we went into the well, because every procedure, the leader of opposition has written letters. He's tried to get up in Parliament to speak. He's not allowed to speak. The leader of opposition, and I'm talking about my house, the Rajya Sabha. The leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha today has been suspended. Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary has also been, the leader of opposition has been suspended. So you know how much weightage is given to his voice. We have submitted Rule 267 notices. We have tried every procedure. Now tell us, what are we supposed to do? We have tried every procedural tactic. We've gone by the textbook. We've submitted all notices, everything. The Home Minister just refuses to come. In fact, today, in the list of business in the Rajya Sabha, the Home Minister was supposed to come in the afternoon and table 2 bills. He didn't show up. He got the MOs home to come in his place instead. That's how scared he is of coming and just talking to us. And I cannot, for the life of mine, imagine why is he so scared to come and just have a discussion. Now, how are we supposed to get the government to talk? They have a brute majority. And another thing I would like
Okay,
to point out here.
so Saket Gokhale, let's assume the government argument is we will give an answer when we have an answer ready on our own terms. We're not going to do it based on your demands. What's your response to that?
See, I mean, the 92 MPs that have been suspended today, all of them represent a few lakh people, each one of them. All right. They're not people who have just come, there were empty seats. So they sold tickets and said, first come, first serve, pe aake baith jao parliament mein. These are also people who represent a chunk of the population. Assuming the BJP has had 34% vote share, the remaining belongs to parties that are not in the BJP. So these people still represent a majority of the population. I'm not getting to first past the post system, blah, blah, all of that. So if they say we will do it on our own terms and we will do it the way we want to do, but that is exactly what a dictatorship is called. I will dictate the terms. I will dictate how things are supposed to be. I will do it my way. And you have only two responses, which is sir and yes, sir. So if their response to this is that we'll do it on our own terms and our own time, then why even have parliament? Why even have the charade of having a semblance of democracy there? अगर आपको आपके terms पे, if you want to do something on your own terms, then why pretend that this is the democracy and represent people who did not vote for the BJP, have any voice? Why pretend that? Then let's just say कि भाई, if you voted for the BJP, then we speak for you. You have a voice. If you're not voted for the BJP, go sit in a corner because we are going to do things on our terms, the way we decide at a time that we decide. Second thing, Ms. D'Souza, from your previous question, I just want to point out and clarify here. The BJP says that the House was disrupted, and which is why these MPs were suspended. All right, okay, let's take them at face value. House was disrupted, House was not allowed to function, is the theory. But today, in the Rajya Sabha, while MPs were protesting in the well, two crucial bills, the J&K Reorganization Amendment Act and the Union Territories Act, were passed without a debate. So they need to decide and tell us if the House was disrupted or not able to function, then how were two laws passed? How were two bills passed today and turned into law without a debate? Ideally, if you're not letting the House function, that means House is not functioning. But if you're passing two legislations in a span of 15 minutes without a single debate on it, that means House is functioning. Otherwise, how are you passing those bills?
Saket Gokhale, Member of Parliament, TMC, are you telling me that you believe that democracy is no longer functioning in our country?
92 opposition members. In the Rajya Sabha, it's 45 plus 1, 46. Our total strength in the Rajya Sabha combined is 102. So about 50% of the opposition as of today has been suspended. Out of them, 14 people indefinitely. Now, this week, the government very interestingly wants to introduce the three very hotly debated controversial criminal law bills, which seek to revamp the IPC, CRPC, and the Evidence Act. Those bills were tabled in the Lok Sabha today. There will be debate in the Rajya Sabha. 50% of your opposition is being silenced and not even being given a chance to express their point of view on these bills. Sure, they have the numbers. They will vote for it and they'll turn it into a law. But today, effectively, you've denied 50% of your opposition members the chance to even express their views on three bills that will change the criminal jurisprudence in this country. Is that democracy? The Home Minister is not answerable to the Parliament. What is the point of a legislature? The way the system works is that the government is accountable to the legislature is accountable to the people. That is the fundamental bedrock of democracy. If the government tells the legislature that no, we are not accountable to you, we're going to do things on our terms, the way we want it, at a time what we want it, and if anybody protests or objects, you're going to suspend them. How is this government accountable to the legislature by democratic principles? And what are we supposed to go and tell the people that we represent? That, sorry, man, but the government said, we are going to answer you on our own terms. So just sit. They might decide one day to give an answer, or they might not. By the way, in the previous session, the monsoon session, we waited for the Prime Minister to come on the last day to speak on Manipur. We asked throughout the entire session. He came on the last day and he spoke about Manipur for 2 minutes and 34 seconds. That's all that Manipur got of the Honorable Prime Minister's time. 2 minutes and 34 seconds. The state is still burning today, but Prime Minister said, Sab Changasi, everything is good, Viksit Bharat and Vishwaguru and all of that. So now that's been put under the back burner and nobody even talks about Manipur anymore. So the question is, what is the point? I mean, can you at least have a semblance? Can we at least pretend to do a dance of democracy where you at least, pretend that parliament is functioning? You have built a new parliament building. Come, just have a discussion. What is there to be so scared of? It's not like we are saying Home Minister has gone and brought the intruders himself. Just come. Acha. Second point about accountability. 92 MPs, Ms. D'Souza, suspended as of today. In the last 4 days, 92 MPs. The BJP MP Pratap Simha, who blindly issued the visitor passes for these intruders who came in, has not been suspended. Now, just imagine if instead of him, in his place, there was an India Alliance MP that had done that. I'll tell you by now, that MP, she or him, would not only have been arrested, they would have been made a co-conspirator in the case, they would have been charged under the UAPA, and that MP would be in prison right now. But Pratap Simha has not even gotten a slap on the wrist. Mahua Moitra allegedly shared her login credentials, and that was a breach of national security to the point where she was expelled from the Lok Sabha. But signing a visitor pass and approving a visitor pass for people who jump from the gallery into the house and release a smoky substance apparently is not a threat to national security. So I don't understand what is the yardstick by which this government works. I mean, it's baffling, but I don't understand what constitutes breach of national security, what is not national security. A tweet is sedition, but issuing a pass for somebody for intruders that you don't know is fine. I mean, theek hai, ho gaya. They came in, fine. Nothing happens to it.
Saket Gokhale, Mallikarjun Kharge has said on a tweet just today, he said, with an opposition-less parliament, the Modi government can now bulldoze important pending legislation, crush any dissent without any debate. All democratic norms are being thrown into the dustbin by an autocratic Modi government that has suspended 47 MPs, unquote. That is his quote today. Right. My question to you is a little further from that. Has the India bloc become now so weak that bills are being passed, whether or not you happen to be in the House? As we've seen happen over several sessions of Parliament, the opposition either stays or walks out. It makes no difference. The opposition's getting suspended on a regular basis. Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh is still a member of Parliament. He sits in Parliament. Yeah. The opposition, the member of Parliament who used terrible language against Danish Ali is still a member of Parliament. No action has been taken against him. So my question to you is this. Yes, you're sitting in front of me saying that it's difficult now and democracy is not functioning. But my question to you is, has the opposition become so weak that you're unable to do your job, which is holding the government accountable?
Interestingly, Ms. D'Souza, it's quite the opposite. Look, because elections happened in 2019, and that's when, they got X number of seats and other parties got X number of seats. The difference is this has been happening since 9.5 quarter to 10 years now. There's nothing new in the fact that they're bulldozing bills. It's happened. They passed the farm laws with a voice vote and then had an egg on their face, and the Prime Minister himself had to withdraw them a year later. Had he allowed us a debate, maybe he wouldn't have passed those silly laws. But the difference is not, though this has been happening, this is nothing new. But the difference now is that until several months ago, there would be the BJP bulldozing bills, and there would be 26 or 28 odd different political parties protesting in their own different way, walking out at different times, or voting against a bill, or doing their own thing. Today, these parties stand together, vote together, speak together as one bloc. So in fact, what has happened in the last few months is that those isolated 28 parties that constituted the opposition have now become one bloc. Today, it's not Congress MPs, DMK MPs, TMC MPs, CPM MPs, CPI MPs, and from other parties that have been suspended. It's India MPs that have been suspended. So today, it's in fact a united bloc. What this government has managed to do is, over the years, it has in fact now gotten to a point where the opposition is united for the first time in all so many years. I mean, sure, we all, had an opposition to the BJP and its policies, but we're doing it in our own way, in different ways, all of us pushing in different directions. Now there is the BJP standing against a united bloc called India. And that is what is different today in this parliament session as opposed to the previous ones. And let me also say another thing. What is also encouraging If I like to find a silver lining to every dark cloud. But what is very encouraging about today is you have the brute majority. The BJP has the brute majority. Even in today's ruckus, they managed to pass two bills before all these MPs were suspended. So they have House doesn't need to function. They can just get up, say, I table the bill for passing. No vote happens, the bill is passed. Despite that, the fact that they felt the need to suspend 92 MPs in one session, this does not sound like a political party that thinks that 2024 is going to be a cakewalk for them. If 2024 is
Okay,
going to be a cakewalk,
right.
this is not the behavior of a party that thinks that, in fact, if a party thinks that they're going to sweep 400 par, 400 par, and all of that, they would have said, let these MPs scream and yell, we're going to pass bills. We are in fact going to pass these bills in front of you while you're screaming and show you how useless, how pointless, how irrelevant you are. They didn't do that. They suspended 92 MPs. This, I'm sorry, does not sound like a confident party. This doesn't sound like a party that says, we're going to cross 400 anyway. Protest as much as you want. Go in the well. We'll pass bills without a vote right in front of you, like we've been doing all these months. No, they had to suspend 92 MPs. So they might show all their, 56 inch and 400 par and all of that. But this is not a party. This is not a prime minister. This is not a government that sincerely within itself believes that they're going to sail through in 2024.
Saket Gokhale is referring to the new slogan that we're picking up from Delhi, which is "Ab ki baar 400 par" from the BJP in 2024, talking about not just brute majority, but it would seem like the entire house at that point, if that's really the target that they have. But I do want to ask you this. You're talking about the fact that you believe that the India bloc at this point is so strong that it's threatening the BJP with its 300 plus seats without even any of its allies. But the India bloc has not successfully demonstrated any sort of ability at seat sharing yet. And its performance in the state elections was abysmal. So
Let me
where's
correct
this
you.
confidence?
Sorry. The state elections, it wasn't the India bloc. It was one party that was contesting assembly
No,
elections
the
in
largest party.
four
Bloc,
major
and
states.
yourself
Four
as
major
one
states.
block, then that's the
Largest, small, see, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you lose by one vote, you lose by one vote. Doesn't matter how large you are or how small you are. But
okay.
it was one party contesting four major state elections, one on one, with the BJP. They won one state, they lost three states. That's besides the point. Because let me also take you back to 2021, when the same BJP and the entire national media was saying Bengal mein 200 par, we're going to cross 200 in West Bengal. They got 70 seats. And Mamata Banerjee got elected as the chief minister for a third term. This government could not muster the numbers in Maharashtra. They had to actually break two political parties in order to just scrape through and form a government in Maharashtra, which we all know how it's performing. Nobody knows who the CM is, deputy CM is, kaun kya, kidhar, kis party ka. Nobody has any idea right now in Maharashtra. This party has no chance in BJP has no chance in Tamil Nadu. BJP has no chance in Karnataka because we're talking about these state elections. Why don't we go back a few months ago and look at the thumping victory the Congress had in Karnataka? The BJP does not have the wildest chance in Kerala. The BJP is not present in Andhra Pradesh. It's YSRCP and TDP. Gujarat, yes. Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan. Let me jog everybody's memory back to 2018 when Congress won these three states with a thumping majority. And then 6 months later in the Lok Sabha, Congress got 0 seats in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Chhattisgarh. So, like I said, if we were to read into, these three states mean the BJP is winning. No, no, no. Elections are a lot more interesting and a lot more complicated than that. Mr. Vajpayee in 2003 thought that India Shining is working and he's coming back with a bigger majority, and the BJP went out of power. Similarly, Indira Gandhi called elections and we know what happened after that. So it's no one should take the people for granted the way the BJP is doing right now. See, arrogance does that to people. Arrogance makes you take people for granted. But
No, so, okay, so let me ask you this question then. If the BJP slogan, from what we understand, is "Ab ki baar 400 par," what's the slogan coming out of the India bloc?
Ab ki baar BJP bahar. Bas.
You just come up with that.
What's that? No. Ab ki baar BJP bahar. Bas. That's what is needed. Ab ki baar Modi bahar. BJP bahar. No 400 par, 300 par, 200 par. Sorry, no. BJP is out. That's what's united the opposition. This party. Look, our country has problems. It's not like we've had, previous administrations have been exceptionally good or that we have not made mistakes. All of us have made mistakes. We have all, in one way or the other, small here and there, we've all made mistakes. But today, I have a broken ankle and I have cancer. Treating that cancer is really more important. Broken ankles can be dealt with. Broken ankles can be fixed after putting them in a splint for a while. But dealing with the cancer is a much, much, much more important task because that is what is eating away the body. Broken ankle is not destroying your body, but a cancer is eating away at it. The BJP is the cancer. So it's very simple in 2024 that this government, this authoritarianism has to go. If they don't want to abide by democratic principles, so be it. Then they don't have a reason for democracy.
What is the route forward for the opposition right now? Is it likely to approach the Supreme Court? Can you approach the Supreme Court against these suspensions? Are you hopeful?
We're not going to. We don't want to. We won't. Let the people of India see. Elections are coming. I didn't get suspended today, surprisingly, despite the government's love for me. But I might get suspended tomorrow. I mean, we still have 4 more days of parliament session to go. So there might be the few remaining of us might also get suspended tomorrow, day after. Let the people see this week that major bills were passed earlier without debating with the opposition, now without the presence of the opposition. Let people see what BJP wants with 400 par in 2024. Let people get a glimpse of that. When for the next 3 days, there is no opposition in parliament. It's BJP. It's, as Mr. Modi would love. He would love this idea, which is one nation, one leader, one parliament, one party. He loves these one things. Okay. So let people see over the next 3 days, humko bhi suspend kar do. And then you're only going to have the BJP sitting.
Counter argument rakhi hu aapke samne, Saket ji. This is the argument, right? One could argue that in the previous UPA government, which is not India bloc, UPA government, there was a terrible, what they call policy paralysis, where nothing was happening, no laws were being formed, nothing was moving, and that's what we were all suffering for. Now the BJP is managed by hook or by crook to push through whatever agenda it needs to. In fact, the 2 bills that it pushed through today actually increase the number of women participating in lawmaking in Puducherry and Jammu and Kashmir. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
So no, sorry. Here's the thing, Ms. D'Souza. Because I have to add something here. You're saying this because the bill was not debated in Parliament. I'll tell you what the bill says. J&K delimitation was carried out recently. A delimitation has already happened in Jammu and Kashmir. But this bill says that this reservation will be implemented after delimitation, which is carried out after the 2021 census. J&K mein ho chuka hai delimitation. Unlike the Nari Shakti Vandan bill, delimitation has already happened in J&K recently. That's why they have to hold elections that the Supreme Court ordered. So why couldn't you introduce this from the upcoming elections? Why do you have to wait till 2029? See, this is what happens when a debate is not allowed in Parliament. People assume it's a progressive legislation. It's not. It's Jumla. This reservation is not going to come into effect at least till 2029.
What is your response to those who will say, but at least the work is happening? So what if opposition is sitting outside? Kaam jaldi ho raha hai.
That happened during the emergency as well. Do we want to go back to that? Because we could say the exact same about the emergency. Trains ran on time, even though they don't. I mean, look at the condition of railways today. I'm not saying this. Ask generally the audience that's watching it. Anyone who's been on a train will realize what the condition is. So, but emergency people said, Sarkari Naukar time pe aate the, people used to come on time, trains used to run on time. Is that the era we want to go back to? Then let's have an emergency then. If we are saying that that is our goal, which is the government decides and things happen without participation of anybody else, that is exactly what those many months of emergency were all about. Exactly the same as what you're mentioning right now. So, one can say it's lack of policy paralysis and it's effective, but one could also say that this is exactly the same word. These are exactly the same words that were used to describe the emergency.
We have a question for you from Venkatesh Ravi, who says, even if there is a genuine intention behind the way the opposition behaved in Parliament, at the end of the day, the suspension stands. So what is the message to people who voted for the opposition and for the young people watching what's happening in Parliament right now?
The message is this. The message is, we're happy you voted. Very grateful for your vote. But participation, look, we are trying in Parliament, right? We are pushing. We used all rules, procedures. Look, no one likes to get suspended. Nobody wants to be thrown out of a house, not allowed to enter a house of which you are legitimately a member. We are not sitting in this house as a gift of the government. We're sitting in this house because people elected us. So no one likes what is happening right now. But the point is, we're trying our best. All right. And the message to people who voted for us is this is what we're dealing with right now. And which is why, beyond your vote, we also beg and seek your civic participation beyond votes and beyond elections. You have elections coming in the next 5 months. You see what the government is doing. Now, I could today spare half an hour, come here and try and break down actually what happened. You are giving a voice to anybody out there who wants to go out and address the people on what is happening. So look, you're doing what you were mandated to do. I'm doing what I was mandated to do. But today, if you are explained or actually broken down the situation, I would request you please go around and tell people what actually is happening in Parliament. Because let me be honest with you, nobody watches Sunset TV. People get highlights of Parliament outside, maybe on social media or maybe in the news the next day. Nobody watches Parliament proceedings live. So what I'm requesting is that based on whatever I have said, and that's my viewpoint. I'm sure the government has a different viewpoint, and it's a free country. People are willing to listen to and believe whatever they want. But the request would be that since we have spent some time to at least explaining, don't let this explanation die with one person. Let it at least go to maybe 10 people in your family, 10 people around you. Tell them what has happened. Let them decide how they want to vote. I'm not saying go and canvass for the India parties, but just tell them this is what has happened in Parliament. Do you think or do you feel that this is the right way for a democracy to progress?
All right, Saket Gokhale, Member of Parliament with the Trinamool Congress, speaking to us about that suspension. The highest number of MPs to be suspended from Parliament in one day ever in the history of this country has happened today. Members of the opposition, including Saket Gokhale, saying that this is the murder of democracy. Because remember, at the end of the day, members of Parliament are put there, elected by the people directly as representatives of the people. So if they get removed, then it's a lakhs and lakhs of people who they represent who will not, who will not have representation for the rest of the winter session. At least there are 11 MPs whose behavior will now be subject to a committee, and only after the committee gives its report will their reinstatement be considered, which means that they're going to be gone for much longer than the winter session. So what happens to the people who voted for them in the meantime? This is where we are at this point. Saket Gokhale making it clear that the opposition does not plan to approach the courts as far as these suspensions are concerned. They're saying, let the people of India see what the BJP is doing. All right. Thank you for joining us on that conversation. Our aim here is at Beetroot is to be able to bring you the news without any sort of emotion or opinion. Secondly, to be able to bring you conversations that break down and help us understand that news better. If there are more issues, a specific issue you would like us to take up, please leave us a comment in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.